If your pricing per seat and your AI features work, here's the problem. The better your product performs, the less money you make. I'm Jeff Maines, and I need to show you the math on this because it's not just theory, it's already happening. And if you don't see it coming, it's going to blow up your business. This is video 4 in the Futureproof series. We've talked about why SaaSpocalypse happened, what moats actually matter, and the emotional journey you're on. Now we're getting into something concrete and uncomfortable, your pricing model. Because here's what's happening right now. SaaS companies are building AI features that make their customers more efficient, which sounds great, until you realize that more efficient often needs fewer seats. And if you're charging per seat, you just built a product that reduces your own revenue. So here's what we're covering today, the math problem that's coming for per seat pricing. The 4 stages of pricing evolution every SaaS company is headed toward, and what you can do right now to bridge the gap without blowing up your business. I'll also walk through a simple example that'll make this come to life, and then show you, who got burned and who made it work. So let's dive in. All right, let me show you the math. Let's say you've got a customer with, we'll say 100 seats. They're paying you $50 a month, so 100 seats. It's $50 a seat per month. Hey, that's pretty good. That's going to be $5K a month, and you take that out a year, and that's $60K, not 600. $60K. Does my math? Yes, it does. All right. So now you launch an AI feature, and it's good, like really good. It automates a bunch of repetitive work, drafts responses, generates reports, handles routine tasks, and suddenly your customer realizes, like, hold on, we don't need 100 people doing this anymore. We need 20. And so they decide at renewal, so they're not getting rid of you, they're going to keep you. But now they have 20 seats. And so, 80 seats are gone. And so the new revenue from them is $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year. And, that doesn't feel so great. So you just lost $48,000 in ARR from one customer because your product worked really, really well. Now multiply that by your entire customer base. Yeah, that hurts a little bit, right? Here's the brutal part. You help them fire 80 people, or maybe they're retasked doing something else. I mean, we make up all sorts of stories, but you made their business way more efficient. You delivered massive value, and they paid you less. Does that make any sense? No, of course not. Is it happening anyway? Yes, every single day. Because your pricing model was built for a world where humans did the work. And in that world, more humans equals more value equals more seats. But AI flips that. Now it's fewer humans, more value, fewer seats. And if you don't fix your pricing, you're basically building a machine that eats your own revenue. This isn't hypothetical. I've watched this happen to multiple companies over the last 18 months. And one founder told me, we launched an AI assistant. Our customers love it. And our net revenue retention dropped 15 points. It's one of their most important metrics. And, he's like, I thought I was building a moat. And he's like, I think I built a trap door. We just fell through it. That's a really tough place to be. So what do? Let me show you where pricing is headed, because this isn't just about you. It's happening across the entire SaaS ecosystem. Cool? All right. So let's look at this 4 stages of pricing evolution, and we'll think of this like a ladder. And we'll put the bottom rung here, and this is going to be per seat pricing. And very, very common. This is by far where most SaaS companies are right now. You charge based on how many people use the product. I mean, it's simple, it's predictable. Sales teams love it. In an AI world, it is fundamentally misaligned. The more value you deliver, the fewer seats they need. The per seat worked great when software made humans more productive, but it breaks when software replaces humans and makes AI agents more productive. So what's the next rung of the ladder here? And that one is going to be usage-based. And that's a pricing model I've used for a long, long time. And I'm thinking, early on, I was like, we don't need to change our pricing model. We're already way ahead of the curve. But there's a lot of companies that are trying to jump there right now. Charging based on consumption. We see this. I mean, even in AI, it's API calls, it's messages sent, it's reports generated. Whatever the unit of work actually is. And it sounds smart. Aligning pricing with value delivery, right? But here's the catch: usage-based pricing is volatile. Customers hate surprises on their bills. I had a conversation today. Like, I don't want that. I want a flat fee. I want to know what I'm going to pay. Sales teams hate unpredictable commissions because sometimes they're higher, sometimes they're lower, and it's all based on usage. Finance teams, they hate forecasting it. It does work great for infrastructure. I mean, like AWS, but it is brutal for application software unless there's minimums tied to it and things like that. There's some ways to make it work, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about next, and that is hybrid. And hybrid is the bridge. So at least it's a step in the right direction. You keep some sort of a base subscription, maybe a seat, maybe flat, maybe a guaranteed minimums, something, but then you layer usage based on top of that for AI powered actions. So your customer still pays for seats, but when they use the AI assistant to automate 1,000 tasks, they pay for that too. And it's not perfect, but it lets you capture value from AI without blowing up your entire existing revenue model. And this is where most mid-stage SaaS companies need to go first. The next stage is the future, and that is outcome-based pricing. We actually have a component of that as well in some of our products. Because I think it's really important to have those two things aligned, and that's what our clients are looking for as well, is to have the incentives aligned between when they do really well, we do really well, and I think that's good because you're charging based on the result, not the activity. So does the activity have value? Sometimes. Usually the outcome does have value, and when we can define what that is and figure out how to monetize it, and it's revenue generated, it's cost saved, it's time to value, and it's beautiful in theory, because you're perfectly aligned with your customer success. You both do well together, or you both don't do as well together. But it requires really bulletproof measurement, clear attribution, and a sales team that can sell value, not features. And this is, I think, one of the most difficult things to flip is the sales team. Instead of going in there and selling features and all those kinds of things and being able to just go, it's this times this, and here's what it's going to cost you. You've really got to sell value. You really got to understand the solution. What problem are they trying to solve? What is that costing them? What is it going to get them? And be able to tie your solution to that value, not just tie it in the sales process, but in the billing process. So, most companies, they're not quite ready for that yet, but the ones that figure it out, they win big. So here's the big question, and that is, where are you on this ladder? If you look at, are you per seat? Are you usage based? Are you hybrid? Are you outcome based? And then, what's after that? What's after outcome based? Who knows? I think this is probably not the end of the ladder. It's going to keep going. We just can't see what that next step is going to be yet. But it's definitely going to be having some sort of value metric that is easily measured, that clients look at and go, yeah, I see the value, and it's really clear that I'm winning when I use your tool, your product. So I think that's important. Let me tell you a couple of stories. Real companies, very, very different outcomes. We'll call company A, and all these examples, company A is always the one that has problems. So you always want to be company B. So little tip. But company A, and this is we'll just call this the jump that failed. And in company A, this was a sales enablement tool, about 10 million ARR, and mostly per seat pricing. They launched an AI feature that automated lead research and outreach, and legitimately good. They panicked about the per seat problem, so they decided to go all in on usage-based pricing. And they announced, next quarter we're going to start moving to a pay per lead enriched model. So every lead they enrich, they bill you for. And it was absolute chaos, pandemonium. Existing customers freaked out. Wait, how much is this going to cost us? Sales reps couldn't forecast deals. Finance couldn't model the business. They're like, what's revenue going to be? I have no idea because nobody knew. 3 months later, they rolled it back, but the damage was done. They lost credibility, churn spiked because if there's anything that clients dislike more than almost anything else, it's uncertainty. And so churn spiked, and they tried to skip rungs and try to jump right up there to the outcome based pricing, and it broke them. It really did, and they'll probably recover, but it was just bad timing, bad messaging. There's so many problems that happened in that. It was a move, but it just wasn't the right next step for them. Company B, and we'll just call this the bridge that worked. So the other was the leap that failed. This is the bridge that worked, and this was a customer support platform. About 8 million AR, and again, per seat pricing, very, very common. And they launched an AI agent that could handle support tickets. And customers loved it. We've done that in our own organization, and it's actually taking about 80% of our support tickets that it's doing. But what was really interesting, so they're providing that out to their customers. And their customers loved it because they're seeing that same kind of thing. 60, 70, 80% of their inquiries are being solved by this AI agent. But instead of blowing up their pricing, they layered it. Because what happens if you have 80% of your tickets that are being solved by AI, now you need 80% less agents, right? So they're looking at that going, did we just kill our revenue stream? But they actually layered it in. So they said your existing seat pricing stays the same. But if you want to use the AI agent, it's $500 a month for up to 1,000 AI resolved tickets, and after that, it's 20% or 20 cents per ticket. And customers got that. Sales could sell it. It was something they're like, okay. So the value, if I have an AI agent, $500 are going to solve 1,000 tickets for us. Heck yeah, I'm in. And they're like 20 cents after that, absolutely, because what is their cost per ticket? With a human agent, and they had math around that as well. But the customers got it immediately. I think that's one of the most important things is that your customers or your clients, they really understand the pricing model, that sales understands the pricing model, that they can sell it, they have confidence in it. Finance can forecast it. Super important. But here's the kicker. Revenue actually increased because customers were willing to pay the AI value on top of their existing seats. So they didn't have that 80% drop in seats. They're just able to handle a whole lot more business with the same number of people. But from a company perspective, they didn't jump like company A. They bridged. And 6 months later, 60% of their customer base has adopted the AI add-on. Net revenue retention, again, I think one of the most important metrics to pay attention to. Net revenue retention went up 20 points. Same market, way different approach between the two companies. And the difference is one tried to force the future overnight, and the other built a path to get there. And will they both end up at some point, doing that outcome-based pricing? It is entirely possible. But bringing your clients along for that ride, for that journey where they understand it, where they're comfortable with it, where there aren't any big surprises, there's not that uncertainty, that is priceless. All right, let's do a quick self-check. 3 questions, honest answers. Number 1, do your best customers pay you more as they automate more? And if the answer is no, if automation actually reduces what they pay you, you are sitting on a time bomb. So let's diffuse that thing before it goes off. Question 2, does your pricing reflect the outcome or the head count? If you're charging based on how many people log in, not what they achieve, that is, a misalignment that is just waiting to hurt you. And question 3, could you explain your pricing to a CFO in 30 seconds without sweating? If your pricing requires a 10-minute explanation and a calculator, it's way too complicated. And complicated pricing dies in a downturn. If you answered no to any of those, then you got some work to do. And I think that's probably true of most SaaS companies. But here's the good news. You don't have to blow everything up tomorrow. I think really looking at the hybrid rung of that ladder, I think for a lot of companies, this is probably the right next step in looking at what does that look like? How do you keep your base pricing and add on to it? What does that look like? And I think it is really layering AI usage on top of that. Test, learn, evolve, and you don't have to get it perfect. And most of us won't the first time we try. I didn't. But you do have to get started. And I think that is one of the most important things that you can do. So a couple of paths. One is, from, per seat to direct usage. There's a path here. And I think that there's, a path, through hybrid to outcome-based pricing. But the mistake is trying to jump through, all of those in one step, because that creates a lot of chaos. Yeah, it feels bold, it feels innovative, but it is literally a recipe for chaos. Your customers aren't ready for that. Your sales team, I would say, is probably not ready either. Your systems are likely not ready. This is the path that works, though, is actually going through, per seat to usage based to hybrid. And eventually, maybe we get to outcome based, maybe we get to something else. I mean, who knows what the future holds. But it's the bridge. It lets you test AI pricing, learn what customers value, and evolve your model without destroying the existing business. Is that boring? Maybe. But boring is what keeps you alive long enough to get to the future. So here's the key takeaway. You don't have to blow up your pricing, but you do have to stop pretending that the old model is going to survive AI. Per seat worked beautifully when software made humans more productive, but it breaks when software replaces humans. The companies that figure this out early, that build the bridge before they're forced to, they're the ones that thrive. The ones that wait, they'll get there eventually, but it'll be a whole lot more painful. All right, in the next video, we're going to map where the money is actually moving. Because here's the thing, money isn't leaving software. It's moving to different kinds of software. And if you understand the flow, you can position yourself to catch it. And it's not only just moving to software, a lot of those labor dollars, those are moving to software as well. So we'll talk about the new stack, the new winners, and where the opportunities actually are. So don't miss it. Hit subscribe. And if you're staring at your pricing model right now going, oh crap, just reach out. I help founders work through this exact transition every day. So thanks for watching. Now take a hard look at your pricing, and I will see you on the other side.